If you live in and around the Annapolis Valley in Nova Scotia and follow the music scene, you may have heard the name Bernie Zinck. Bernie lives with his family in the town of Kentville, which is located approximately 20 kilometers east of the Bay of Fundy, where he has been teaching music for over 20 years. Aside from his own band, he plays in a group called the Melbournes and is the band leader of the 15-piece dance band Bluesmobile. As a music producer and songwriter, he's had some of his music played in popular TV shows. This is something you might not notice about Bernie at first glance. He's slowly losing his sight due to a rare eye disease called retinitis pigmentosa, also known as RP.
So when I was 16, I started having trouble seeing in low light or dark conditions, like at nighttime. And it wasn't until some scary night drives during my high school driver training classes that I realized I had something wrong with my eyes. So we were driving at night, and I was just focusing on the road ahead, and I just randomly looked over at the instructor who was sitting in the passenger seat, and he was going like this, with just waving his hand. And he said, "Can you see me waving my hand out of your peripheral vision?" And I said, "No, I didn't notice you waving your hand over there." And he said, "I've been doing that for like 2 minutes." And that's when it was suggested I should probably get an eye exam.
Retinitis pigmentosa, or RP, is one of the most common inherited retinal diseases, affecting approximately 1 in 3,500 Canadians.
So I went to my optometrist, and he noticed right away something wasn't right with my eyes, and he referred me to a retinal specialist in the city of Halifax. And that is where I was finally diagnosed with RP.
Most commonly, RP first appears as night vision loss and over time progresses to include peripheral vision loss, resulting in tunnel vision, which sometimes can result in complete blindness.
So I was told by the retinal specialist that there was no treatments available, there was no cures, and I was eventually going to go blind. And you can imagine, as a 16-year-old hearing that was devastating. I was told there was various forms of RP, and because genetic testing was so expensive back in the 90s, and they couldn't guarantee that they would even find the gene mutation causing my RP, it just didn't make sense to get tested. So I didn't know if I was going to go blind in a few years or if it could take decades. We just didn't know because the research simply wasn't there yet. Over the last 25 years, my vision has declined slowly. I consider myself very lucky. I've lost a lot of my peripheral vision. I see kind of like in a donut. So there's a donut area that's missing, and I see in the center, and I see very, very, in my very far peripheral, I have a little vision there. But, in poor lighting or at nighttime, I'm basically blind. In the daytime or in good lighting, I can see better because my central vision has remained quite stable. So I'm very fortunate to be able to still read print, read music, watch TV, see a computer screen, which is how I teach music lessons online, see my phone, walk unaided during the day, see my daughter, and even ride a bike. I ride a bike all the time, when the weather's good and it's nice and sunny outside. I go for bike rides and hit the trails. I just love that. It's funny because it's like describe my life as kind of like a double life. I've got the life of a sighted person and I live the life of a blind person, all at the same time. But a lot has changed since my diagnosis over 25 years ago. More and more genes that cause RP are being discovered. There's free genetic testing widely available across Canada now. There are clinical trials for stem cell and gene therapy treatments underway. And thanks to research partially funded by Fighting Blindness Canada, the very first ever gene therapy treatment for RP, called Luxturna, was approved by Health Canada last year.
Why is genetic testing important if you've been diagnosed with an inherited retinal disease like retinitis pigmentosa?
Genetic testing was a large part of discovering more about my vision loss. Knowing what gene mutation caused my eye disease provided me with information and the possibility of taking part in future clinical trials or even qualifying for a new treatment as it became available. And most often, genetic testing is just done through a simple blood test. So I'll never forget the anticipation of traveling to Maritime Genetics in Halifax to receive my genetic test results. At that time, it was about 5 years ago, Luxturna was in its final research phase, and it was showing these great results. And like the whole way, I'm just fingers crossed. I'm like, RPE65 mutation, that's the one I wanted. I wanted that RPE65 mutation. I was so disappointed when the geneticist said, sorry, you have X-linked retinitis pigmentosa, and it's in the RPGR gene. So you've got an RPGR gene mutation. And I was just like, RPGR, that's not RPE65. And anyway, the whole drive home, my wife, as she's driving the car, she's just, trying to make me feel better. And I remember just sitting there with my phone, like Googling RPGR mutation gene therapy the whole time driving home. And then there it was on my phone. A clinical research company was researching gene therapy for the RPGR mutation. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was so happy. I was literally tears of joy. It was just like, for the first time in my life, I saw some real hope that one day, I would, stop going blind, or may even get improved vision. So that was a real special day for me.
What happens after receiving genetic test results? What are the next steps?
So one of the first things I did when I got my genetic test results back was register with Fighting Blindness Canada's patient registry. The registry is a secure database where Canadians can submit information about their inherited retinal diseases, and that information is then used to connect them to clinical trials by researchers. I also contacted some of the researchers myself directly through a website called clinicaltrials.gov, because some of the data from phase 1-2 trial of the RPGR gene therapies were very promising. Some even showed improvement in some individuals. So, for me, as long as I could keep the vision I have, just keep being able to, see the computer screen and teach online and teach people in person and be able to read music, and maybe even someday be able to see the audiences that I play for in a dark room, because to be honest, sometimes I can't even see the people I'm playing for right now. And just the simple things in life, just seeing the scenery around me, just being able to just see still, and I guess if I had to say, the number one thing would just be to be able to continue to see my daughter grow up. That would mean the world to me.
Over 1.5 million Canadians live with vision loss. Fighting Blindness Canada, Canada's largest charitable funder of vision research, has contributed over $40 million towards sight-saving treatments and cures for blinding eye diseases to bring hope to those living with blindness and their families. To learn more, visit fightingblindness.ca or call 1-800-461-3331.